Hey guys, the mic is out. So you know what that means? We're talking serious business. We're talking about hair. And I like to have a nightcap. I did say I was gonna forego alcohol for my winter arc, but you know what? I indulged in a little bit of luxury, fantasy, Black Friday shopping, and I was given a complimentary glass of champagne and couldn't say no. Forgot how nice it was to have a little treat once in a while. So the other day after the gym, kind of stopped by somewhere close to the gym and saw they sold my favorite milk stout. It's peanut butter and it's the brand Belching Beaver. If you're a local to Vegas, Parkway Tavern carries this. That's when I think I first discovered milk stouts existed. It's kind of a girly, sweet beer without being too sweet. And a girl can control herself. And you know what? Between me and you, I think I do everything better a little bit buzzed. So hopefully these two story times and a second hair ramble goes very well tonight or whenever you're watching this. I just start going on a random ramble that just jumps from topic to topic. So I think I wanted to start a series where it's a little more organized. And I wanted to point out some very well-known stories throughout our history that demonstrates the importance of hair and kind of justifies why I'm so obsessed about it. So let's talk about one man and one woman and the power that their hair signified. One biblical story and one Greek myth. So let me just finish my beer and we'll get into it. Okay, we're going to start about the story of Samson. Samson and Delilah. So I'm just going to gloss over the story. It's basically a story about the Israelites and the Philistinians. Forgive me about my pronunciation. So, Samson's parents were told that they were going to have a son that was given a gift, supernatural powers from God, and their son was going to deliver their people from the ones oppressing them. So, interestingly enough, the mom was instructed to, I swear this is relevant, to abstain from alcohol, ironically, and unclean foods. And she was going to give birth to a son who was never to cut his hair. And he basically was given this gift of supernatural strength. And he was able to fight off the Philistines and protect his people. So the Philistines sent a beautiful woman named Delilah, whom he married, and she was tasked with the mission of finding out where's this strength came from. And through the powers of her seduction and through the, what would you phrase it as? Through the I got it. Through the weakness of his flesh. So, you know how men are. They have needs. They give in to temptation. That's what happened. And so, once he divulged, revealed where the source of his power and the gifts from God came from, Delilah, tasked a servant or slave to basically sneak in and cut off all his hair, and he lost all of his power, and they gouged his eyes out. And I was looking at videos on YouTube about rabbis explaining the symbolism and lessons behind this story. They were saying that gifts from God should never be used for vanity or temptations of the flesh. It should be used for helping those in need to, for good, obviously. So once he gave in to the temptations of the flesh, it was just shot to hell, I guess. Anyway, his hair did grow back, which once his hair grew back, I guess the other symbolism behind it that was explained by the rabbi, which I thought was very interesting, was he said that hair grows everywhere on your body where there's a source of power. So the main part of your central nervous system is your brain. It's the center of your nervous system. Your head generates a lot of heat, and there's a lot of power behind, your mental abilities. So each strand of hair that grows from your scalp is sort of like, he said, little wires of conductivity where it's a connection to the divine, to God. And also, people have a sexual prowess as well. So that kind of goes with the fact that people grow hair around their genital organs, or should I say, reproductive organs. That sounds better. So once his hair grew back, he realized what he did wrong. He was sorry for what he had done, and he asked God to basically gift him with his strength one last time. And so God did. And then he asked the Philistines to place him between two pillars, and that's this famous scene where God bestows him with his supernatural strength again, and he pushes on the two pillars and makes the entire temple topple down, destroying the enemy as well as sacrificing himself as this last-ditch effort to save his people. So that's the story, and let's get into kind of like breaking it down and some observations. And when I was saying that the food part was relevant about how his mom was instructed not to have any alcohol or unclean foods, I really think that's super relevant because naturally I think that especially as a woman, your hair has one of the biggest impacts on people. It gives the biggest first impression. And I would dare say hair could be even a status symbol. And the science behind it, the biology behind it is we are what we eat. So having the discipline to eat a well-balanced diet, or even being fortunate enough to have access to foods that are very nourishing and to always have a constant supply of nutrients available regularly is a privilege. And naturally, we have organs that are more vital than our hair and our skin and our nails. So whatever we eat, first dibs goes to your brain, your heart, your lungs, your digestive system. And then once those things are properly nourished, last on the totem pole is, accessory items like hair, skin, nails. And that's why I think that subconsciously we kind of understand this, and when we see someone with really healthy, luscious, shiny, bouncy hair, then you just kind of assume these things, that maybe they have good genes, maybe they have a nice lifestyle, maybe they have good discipline. You just start assuming things like that. And I'm just digressing, I think, maybe. I don't know. But the other thing, too, is the fact that he was instructed not to cut his hair, Samson, makes me think of different cultures where men do that, even now. They really feel like their bodies are basically God's creation, and it's sacred, and they basically don't ever cut it in their lifetime, and they cover it up for protection, which also, like, it's kind of interesting that each individual strand of hair, like alone, is actually very delicate, and it can provide us with protection and warmth, but it also needs to be protected as well. Personally, I put my hair up most of the time when I go out for a few reasons. One of which is because I just don't want to deal with the mechanical damage, and I don't want to deal with knots or tangles, because once it gets tangled, I have to quickly comb it out with my wooden comb. I carry it around with me if I wear my hair down. I also always have some form of being able to put my hair up at a moment's notice, that I always do. But the main reason why I wear my hair up is because I don't want my tag logs to be accessible to just anyone. And a tag log is basically like something that has your DNA on it, that someone else, another magical practitioner, can use to possibly do some baneful magic against you. Nothing more potent than a strand of your hair, I'm telling you. So that's another reason why I don't really wear my hair down when I'm out and about at work or what have you. So there's a little bit of commentary on that, and then we'll get into Medusa. Now, the story of Medusa, I found, has one main popular version that everyone knows about, but then there's also several other lesser known versions. I'm going to mainly talk about the main version that everyone knows, the most popular one. That one is, she apparently had two sisters. She was the only mortal. She wanted to devote her life as a priestess at the temple of Athena. And in order to be a priestess, she had to be a virgin. And stories go that she was so beautiful. And her hair, interestingly enough, quote, rivaled that of Athena's. And one day she caught the eye of Poseidon. Poseidon tried to seduce her, or, take her as a conquest, I guess. And when all efforts failed, he just took her by force. So when she was no longer a virgin anymore, that enraged Athena. And she, of course, in true female fashion, punished Medusa for it. And what she did was she turned her into a monster by turning her hair into snakes, so that now she's cursed, because if she looks at a man, he turns to stone. That's the main version. There's another version that says that Athena took pity on her and basically turned her hair into snakes and gave her that power of being able to petrify men with just a glance, as a form of power and protection, which I think is pretty badass. Either way, I think Perseus was someone that was given the impossible task of taking her head as a trophy. That, or I think most men were trying to do that as a trophy. So Perseus was gifted items like sandals that gave him the gift of flight from Hermes, and some kind of magical sword that's strong enough to behead her, and a helmet that made him invisible, and a shield that was reflective. And he was able to basically cut off her head. Then he used her head as a sort of amulet. So, in a way, that shows a form of protection, right? Also, it's kind of like the evil eye. It's sort of very symbolic, I feel. And now let's just dig into it. I think that kind of reminds me of nuns when they go into the convent and they take a vow, like an oath, to devote their life to God. They're in a way married to God, which is why nuns don't get married, and they're showing their chastity by always covering their hair. Have you ever noticed that? Nuns always have their hair covered. And that's also interesting because it prevents the male gaze or tempting other males with your hair. And that could be why I think women care so much about their hair in efforts to basically obtain a significant other, given that they're heterosexual. So that also got me down this rabbit hole where this is a Greek myth. And in that area, there's Romans. And Romans typically had brown hair. There were some people in the area who had blonde hair, but Romans at first thought brunettes were beautiful and blonde was just not the thing. And it actually was a requirement for prostitutes to have blonde hair at the time. Yeah. So it was by law required that if you were a prostitute, you had to have blonde hair, which is kind of interesting because I feel like in our mainstream culture today, there is, still that interesting stigma about blondes, brunettes, redheads, the stereotypes associated with each hair color in regards to women. But later, blonde hair was considered to be a status symbol, and actually, Romans sought out ways to change their hair to become blonde or have even human wigs fashioned for themselves that were blonde. And I don't know where else I'm going to go with this. So I think I'm just going to close it out by saying the whole takeaway that I feel from this is we are an embodiment of the divine. So whether you believe in God or not, biblically they say that God created man in his likeness. But I feel like most people who practice any kind of spirituality of some form, they realize that each and every one of us, we are gifted with some kind of supernatural power, whether it's you're intelligent and you're really good with numbers, or you have a really amazing talent with music, or you're extremely athletic and you're the best football player or golfer or something. And I really think that there's something to it that our hair symbolizes a lot of our sexual prowess, a lot of our status, and a lot of how we take care of ourselves. So if we are able to access healthy foods on a regular basis, we manage our stress well, and we get good sleep, and we regularly exercise, and we know how to protect our hair and take care of our hair. it shows and has a huge impact. And going a little further than that, we can even alter ourselves to give an impression in the way we want to manipulate it, such as dyeing our hair or using a wig or the way we fashion it or style it or cut it or color it, anything like that. It really does make a dramatic impact on how we feel about ourselves, how the world views us, and basically, I truly believe how much it empowers us. I think that some closing thoughts here is I think it's interesting how Native American cultures say that. I think I read somewhere, actually. I don't know if this is accurate, but I read somewhere that Native American cultures view our strands of hair as antenna, and it's connecting us to the divine. It heightens our intuition and our supernatural powers, which reminds me of the story of Samson. And I think that recently I saw a video of a Native American man on YouTube that I just recently subscribed to. Forgive me, I don't remember the name of the channel at this moment, but he had a video that said that he doesn't allow just anyone to touch his hair. So only family members, only people he trusts are allowed to braid his hair. And that does ring true for me too. I mean, if anything, back in the day when I used to go to hair salons before I started doing my own hair, I remember not every day are we completely in a great mood. Are we coming to work enthusiastic, wanting to give the best service, right? Sometimes, your hairdresser might be going through some personal issues at home, and when they're doing your hair, they just wish they weren't there, and they're trauma dumping on you, and you're just stuck with this bad haircut or not so great color or some mistakes like banding or damage, even worse. And you have this crown chakra around you, and they're just spouting out this like freaking negative vibe, this bad juju all over your freaking hair and your crown chakra. Tell me you haven't had that happen to you before. Do I sound crazy? I hope I don't. I think that's where I'm going to leave it off at. I hope you enjoyed this interesting paranormal hair chat. And if you're into this kind of thing, I'm going to be posting videos at least once a week that's hair related or beauty related or paranormal related. I'm getting tired. So yeah, I would love it if you would subscribe and come back for more. Good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Bye.